not the outcome we wanted, not at all the game we wanted. Take almost everything we said after week 1, and we could say the opposite today. But in the meantime, the worst part about football season, other than wins and losses, or excuse me, losses rather, comes down to injuries. And right now, out of the gate, we want to give you an update on 2 guys that went down today. Brandon Brooks, unfortunately, and Brandon Graham. Gunner, what do you have for us, my friend?
Yeah, Mark, as you know, I reported on social media during the game that I was informed that there was a distinct possibility Brandon Graham suffered an Achilles tear and Brandon Brooks suffered a pec tear. About a half hour ago, it was confirmed by my sources, Brandon Graham is done for the year. He did indeed rupture his Achilles. As for Brandon Brooks, it is a pec injury. Right now, from what I'm told, it doesn't look good, but it's not confirmed just yet that he is done for the year. But they're still waiting to get a few more tests on Brandon Brooks, but doesn't look good for him either. And here's a guy, I mean, this guy, last few years, he can't stay away from injuries.
No.
You know, he's such a good guy, one of the best right guards in the game when he's healthy. He can't stay away from injuries. And 2 huge losses, not just as football players, but leaders in that locker room.
Certainly, and one of the things you look forward to with even those 2 guys is their production throughout the entire year, especially a guy like Brandon Brooks, bouncing back from injury so many times. If this is another one that's going to be a long-term injury, you certainly feel for the guy. And same thing with Brandon Graham. But, I mean, Devin, one of the things we were going to look at in this game, even though you kind of felt the loss early in this game, and if the Eagles were going to pull it out, you felt like it was going to be a miracle-type victory, but unfortunately, they take a 17-11 loss. But the thing that really stings about this, when aside from dealing with it right now, with just now being 1-1 as opposed to 2-0 on the season, is that this is going to be a loss that now lingers, not just because of the loss, but the loss in players from Brandon Brooks to also Brandon Graham. So it's not just one of those things you can look at on this Sunday afternoon and say, all right, well, you know what? It's a loss. You get them next week. Well, now you're going to be attempting most likely next week's game at a loss after losing these 2 players.
Guys, after that Jalen Reagor touchdown was called back at the end of the second quarter, I lit a candle because I was like, you know what? It's okay. They had a touchdown called back last game. They bounced back. But now this candle is mourning Brandon Graham and potentially Brandon Brooks, because that is a massive, massive loss. And that really, really upsets me. I don't know what happened. It was a complete momentum loss with that Jalen Reagor touchdown being called back. And then Nick Sirianni tried to go for the Philly special again, which I will say, if he pulled that off, the link would have come down. Like, absolutely. So I do, like, you got to respect it, but it's also like we just couldn't produce anything in the red zone. And it was very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, you say that, and it's the situation where if the Eagles would have pulled it off that fourth down, going for it it was more of a Philly than a Philly special because it wasn't a direct snap, but still, yeah, it would have been incredible. But that, to me, even more so than the Reagor touchdown that was called back, that to me was the turning point in the game, Gunner. I don't know what you thought, but I don't know if you go for it on that fourth down or not. I don't think you do. I think you take the points in that situation and just get off the field, live to fight another day, get points on that particular situation. I didn't like them going for it, and I certainly didn't like that play call. That was a lot to ask of young players on this offense.
You know what, though? We can all sit here, and me included, because I agree with you.
Okay.
We can all sit here now and be lounge chair quarterbacks after the fact. Had he made the play, had they converted it, we would be talking. It was genius and genius play. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just the nature of the beast. I don't have a problem with his aggressiveness. And that one play to me did not define the outcome of this game. It was their inability to capitalize on a team like San Francisco. And I said this time and time again throughout the week on various platforms. When you play a disciplined team like the 49ers, a team that was just a few years removed from being in a Super Bowl, okay, decimated by injuries last year, but the bulk of those players back. If you don't take advantage of a situation, you're going to pay for it. And you can talk about that play, the Philly play, the blocked field goal play. And then you look at what happened in the fourth quarter. 2 huge plays on the same drive. You know, the running back fumbles the ball backward out of bounds. Derek Barnett, dumb penalty, okay? Few plays later, Eagles get the ball again, a targeting penalty, give San Francisco the ball again. That's led to 3 more points. So instead of it being a 6-point game, with the Eagles finally getting a touchdown and that 2-point conversion, now it's a 3-point game. The only distinct disadvantage the Eagles were at is that they had no timeouts. And say what you want to say about the way the Eagles played this game. I just wanted to see them go tooth and nail against this team. I picked the 49ers to win this game because of their experience and because, as I said, this is a team that tries to play smash mouth football on both sides of the ball. So everybody was stoked because early on, 49ers couldn't run the football. And I'm telling anybody who listens, they are not going to abandon the run. There are a lot of teams in situations like that that will abandon a run and get out of what their character is. Not the 49ers. They had 24 yards rushing at halftime. They finished with over 100 yards. Why? Because the game was still very much in reach. And once they got the Eagles defense on its heels, they didn't beat them with a lot of big plays. They just did what they do consistently to get the job done. And that's the difference between a veteran proven team and a young team that's learned a valuable lesson in a game like this today.
Deebo Samuel's play that he had for 40 yards was a simple slant route that he just beat his first man at about 10 yards, took it another 30 yards down the football field. You look at also this, you talk about catching the Eagles defense off guard. First two possessions for the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo had guys for screen patterns that were dead to rights beating the defense. They dropped the ball. That was more the offense of the 49ers bailing out the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles. Although when it comes down to it, they didn't allow a lot of points in this game. Defense overall looked okay, but those two big plays when you talk about the Deebo Samuel play, and then you also look later in the game allowing another big play, that's something you got to be able to take away from an offense because those are clutch situations. And the touchdown that was caught in this game, it was distracted by George Kittle, and I forget who it was that brought it in for the San Francisco 49ers. Steven Nelson on that particular play started getting sucked in to George Kittle. 3 guys go to Kittle. That's how good he is. They even pointed it out on the broadcast. Next thing you know, you got a wide open guy coming into the corner of the end zone for the touchdown. That was a blown defensive effort, blown defensive coverage right there by the Eagles that I think is something that they're absolutely going to have to watch more than a couple of times in the film room after this game, because that was a play right there that also you can look to as a air out of the balloon type of play, because that capped off a long drive by the 49ers.
Well, but I felt like the Eagles defense did a pretty decent job of containing Kittle in the first half.
Oh, yeah.
And whether it was offense or defense, the 49ers offense did have 3 3-and-outs in a row. So, Deegan, I want to get your opinion on, was it a change in our defense? Did they just get tired throughout the game where they kind of gave up steam against the 49ers offense? Or did the 49ers offense finally figure out how to get us beat?
Good question. Combination of the two. You look at the 2 scoring drives for the 49ers, 90-plus yard drives. That last touchdown drive, 17 plays, 91 yards, chewed up 9 minutes on the clock. I don't care how good of a defense you are, you can't expect a defense not to be exhausted after something like that. And when you put together 90-something yard drives, even when you're rotating guys in and out, your interior guys are going to get exhausted. They're not going to get the push that they were getting. They're not going to be able to pursue the way they were for that moment in the game because they're dog tired. That happens to any and everybody. But Kyle Shanahan, as I've said a number of times, is one of the best, if not the best, offensive strategist in the game. He will continue to do what he does. He will add a wrinkle here and there, but his staple is run the football between the tackles. And so what happens? Once they started sucking Eagles in on the run play, it was pitch left, pitch right, 8 yards here, 9 yards there. That's what they did. Then they went back to pounding this team between the tackles again. And again, I go back to the fact that the Eagles did an incredible job holding them to 24 yards rushing in the first half. All of a sudden, San Francisco's over 100 yards. No one player accumulated that 100 yards rushing, but a collective effort. They kept running in. Mitchell, Hasty. Every now and then, Garoppolo would take off. But for the most part, it was Mitchell and Hasty. They just pound and pound. And if they get a lead on you, they sit on you. And people are saying, okay, hopefully we can get a turnover. No, all the 49ers cared about was keeping the clock moving. Once they got that lead, all it was 14-3. That's all they cared about. Keep the clock moving, keep the ball out of the Eagles' hands, and then let's attack them. And that's what they did. I thought the 49ers did a really good job in the second half defensively of keeping Jalen Hurts in the pocket, even when Jalen was able to step up. But unlike the Atlanta Falcons, the 49ers, under our old friend DeMeco Ryans, very disciplined, Very solid technique defense. They knew exactly what they do. At times, they knew exactly where they wanted Jalen Hurts to go, whether it's with the pass or on the run. And, that's the difference in a game. Experience. Nick Sirianni, he's going to learn from this. When he looks at the film, he's going to learn from this. Young players are going to learn from this. They took their deep shots. They had a little bit of success. And they've sent a message out now. We've got the weapons to take deep shots now, something they didn't have to take last week when they beat up on the Atlanta Falcons. So as they continue to go along, defensive coordinators are going to adjust. But I will say this. The good news is you won't see many defenses the rest of this year like the San Francisco 49ers. You won't see many offensive minds like Kyle Shanahan the rest of the year. So that bodes well for this team. Go through something like this early on in the season as a learning tool, build on it, grow from it, and hopefully you win more games than you lose moving forward.
That's definitely an optimistic viewpoint that we can take away from this game, that you're not going to be seeing these guys again. But one of the things I will call into question about the offense struggling is you did see the deep ball to Quez Watkins, 91 yards. No one's going to complain about that. Happy to see it.
Right.
Unfortunately, they weren't able to cap that off because that was the attempted 4th and goal situation.
Right.
But I thought these tight ends were pretty good at football. I thought Zach Ertz was supposed to be pretty good. I thought Dallas Goedert was supposed to be pretty good. They have 4 targets throughout this entire game, and I don't think they were targeted at all in the first half. That was something I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from Nick Sirianni. I don't know if it was something they were taking away. It didn't look like it. I saw enough 12 personnel where you could have run that and at least try to find those tight ends early in the game. But even when, and Gunnar, this goes to your point from earlier,
right,
even when you try to put your finger on one particular thing with this offense or defense, there's 10 other things that come about as well. So it's hard to just say there was one thing. I will look at coaching, though, because that's one of the easier things to look at when it comes to pointing blame or trying to say, what the heck, guys, that type of thing. But Nick Sirianni not calling plays to those guys' directions. I don't know if that's also Jalen Hurts not feeling comfortable going to them quite yet. Maybe he's not on the same page as much as he might be with a guy like Quez Watkins or a guy like Devontae Smith, whatever. And as this game went on, it just seemed like there were more and more guys that were kind of showing themselves making mistakes as opposed to being able to look at one particular person and say, what's the deal? The one thing I will say about Jonathan Gannon, for as well as his defense played overall, I didn't understand defensive line rotations. There was a 4th and 1 situation. You had Hassan Ridgeway in the middle of this defensive line. Fletcher Cox not in the game. I don't know if that was a situation where they were winded or maybe they pulled something. Right. But it just seemed to me that a 4th and 1, that's exactly when you want Javon Hargrave, who also was not on the field at that time. And you also don't have Fletcher Cox on the field for a 4th and 1 early in this football game. Thought that was a little interesting from Jonathan Gannon in this particular game.
I wonder if they were nicked up or tired. Okay, people keep saying, these athletes get all this money, yada, yada, but you're still human. You're still human. When you've played X amount of snaps, especially when it's warm out, your body's going to take it takes a toll on your body after a while. So if they had to get a breather at that point, or whether they were nicked up, then it just so happened that the Niners caught them at the right moment, at the right time to execute that play that they executed. So I'm not going to fault Gannon for that. And this is going to be all season long. We put this team on this pedestal and all these accolades coming out of that first game. It kind of backfired today in a lot of ways. They didn't execute on the 4th down situation. They got a lot of stops, but they didn't get the necessary stops. They didn't give up a lot of big plays, but they couldn't get off the field when they had to get off the field in crucial situations. And so now they're going to ride that proverbial roller coaster. We're going to have our highs with this team. We're going to have our lows. And as I said off the top of the show, the big key for this team is staying healthy. Well, now you've lost Brandon Graham. As I confirmed with my sources, Brandon Graham's out for the year. Still waiting to confirm whether
Brandon
Brooks is done for the year. But again, it was emphasized to me a couple of times. It doesn't look good for Brandon Brooks. We're holding our breath right now, but it doesn't look good. Okay. So you've just lost a Pro Bowl edge rusher, and you just lost your Pro Bowl right guard for the remainder of the year in game number 2. Now everybody's panicking because of what we went through in 2019, 2,000 injuries, players falling by the wayside. But we're watching this happen across the league. Everybody's losing key players every week. It's going to happen. Your backup guys had better be ready to step in and play a whole lot better this year than they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Landon Dickerson did do that today. We saw the first of him, and I thought he was impressive. I mean, again, we don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Brooks, so TBD. But is Brandon Graham's replacement less reliable? I mean, I don't even want to call Landon Dickerson reliable because we've only seen him for less than one game.
Sure.
But I mean, how massive of an impact is that going to have on us? Mark, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, absolutely not. No, it's going to have a huge impact. And Gunnar, that's what I was talking about earlier. You got these losses that are now lingering losses because not only did you lose a game, you possibly lost two guys that are going to be big contributors throughout the season.
True. Well, there's no question about that, but that's the nature of the beast, and that's why you build your depth chart. And, that's why I'm such a big fan of Jeff Stoutland, because of the way he uses his offensive linemen. He makes them utility offensive linemen where he can plug and play at different points. Now, is Andre Dillard going to move in and be a guard? No. That's why you draft.
No,
oh, God.
Wow. Wow.
She just went on record. She just went on record.
This loss is lingering more than I thought if we got Andre Dillard moving in there.
But that's why you better have Dickerson ready to play, because, you drafted him highly. Coming off an ACL tear, this is why you drafted this guy. So now we're going to find out a lot sooner rather than later exactly what he's all about. He's going to get a lot of ample time. Andre Dillard was your swing tackle today, and as Devin said, oh, God, I hope he doesn't get in the game. Keep Lane Johnson upright and breathing. Keep Jordan Mailata upright and breathing, because if we're down now, if one of those tackles goes down and you got Andre Dillard out here, and then, of course, I don't even want to think about it. I'm not going there. I don't even want to think about it right now.
Let's just wallow in this loss. All right, let's not think about what could be down the line for the Eagles. Let's wallow in this one for right now and lick our wounds. I do just want to look at what some people are saying right now. People are talking about, I see Nunya, I like you already on our YouTube page. Nunya is hitting us up saying Gannon gets a B+ for this performance. When it comes to Sirianni, you do not leave points on the field. Obviously, low-scoring games, especially in this one. 0 timeouts left with 5 minutes left in the game. You can certainly go to things like that right now in this particular game, those pinpoint things. But I just feel like, and I hate to go back to this, but when you lose, Andy Reid used to always say, and I used to like actually when he would say this after their game. There's one thing I used to like what he used to say: everyone's got a piece of the pie. Everyone's got a piece of the pie. And in this particular game, a lot of people had a big piece of that pie. And a lot of people are going to be looking at the film in this game, wondering what they could have done better. Jalen Hurts, for the scramble plays, as you pointed out earlier in the show, Gunner, when you look at some of the scramble plays he made, they were big plays. You needed him to move the football down the field. But there were a couple of different instances. And one, I think, was in their first possession or maybe their second possession of the game. He had a deep ball to Devontae Smith, all the time in the world to throw it. And I was thinking, after I watched the replay of it and then watched it again, even though you have all the time in the world, doesn't mean that you need to take all the time in the world to try to deliver the football. Thought he had Devontae Smith a little bit later in that game as a throw. I'm sure he'd like to have back and get rid of it. There's another play on, I want to say it was a 3rd down conversion, where he had Devontae Smith about 10 yards down the line of scrimmage, 10 yards down the field, down the sideline. Then he also had Dallas Goedert in the flat. He opted to go the deeper pass to Devontae Smith instead of hitting Dallas Goedert, who I thought had the first down in his back pocket. The drive ended up stalling. Those are just a couple of plays right there that I looked at a quarterback who we say all the time, even if Carson Wentz, go back to last year, was able to be the deodorant to this team to make up for a lot of the stink that this team put out there, make up for a lot of the mistakes. You look to a quarterback to do that. I thought Jalen Hurts certainly did that, a lot of that in the second half by making up for plays where his wide receivers weren't able to get open downfield by scrambling to create a big play. And it takes me back to one of the things that people praised about Jalen Hurts even last year. If he doesn't know the play, he'll make the play. And this year, I don't know if it was not knowing the play, but it certainly looked like he knew how to make a play when the play wasn't there.
Yeah, I actually thought Jalen Hurts play. I was fine with his performance. I think everything was on play calling. I don't think it was on Jalen Hurts. That's just my opinion, Deegan. I don't know if you agree on that.
Here's the way I see it. Your starting quarterback has a little more than 5 games of experience. Your collection of wide receivers, you have a rookie, you have a couple of second-year guys. And these are going to be your primary weapons going forward. You're going to learn. You can only learn so much on a practice field, film study. Each and every week it's a different situation because you're looking at different schemes, different downs and distances. It's going to happen. You have to build up a resume before you can say, okay, it's out of kilter. It didn't look right. How many athletes have we seen, 5-10-year athletes, have gone through some of the same things that you guys have just talked about? It happens. So if it happens to seasoned veterans, of course it's going to happen to a much younger nucleus. But this is the growing pains you go through, and this is why you go through them, to build and make yourselves better, to kind of avoid these situations moving forward. And if this situations arise again, it could happen again. But again, it's learning. It's clock management. It's down a distance. It's going to happen again.
Yeah,
it's going to happen again. No question about it.
Gunnar, I think, and Devin, to your point as well, and Gunnar, what you're talking about with experience, that's exactly why you don't run that Philly type play at a 4th and goal because of the lack of experience. Like, that calls for chemistry. You had, just to use it, Doug Peterson had a full season with a lot of these guys to try to coach up that play before they ran it in the Super Bowl. Guess what? They had a full offseason as well with veteran guys to try to run it again when they ran the Philly, not the Philly special in the opening game against Falcons. Nick Sirianni comes in here and he's just like, guess what? Most of my starters haven't played in the preseason. To heck with it. Let me just try this type of play right here at the goal line. Not only did I not like them going for it, I hated the play call in that situation. Yes, one of the things that, Devin, as you said, one of the things that made that, if they actually would have converted that would have been incredible. However, the fact that they did, one of the reasons it would have been incredible is because once we saw it being run, I think we all went, oh my God, no way. And then it failed, which kind of made you all go, that was a bad play call right there.
I saw someone say on Twitter, that the coaching was Andy Reid style clock management and Doug Peterson at his worst play calling. And I think but from a rookie coach. So it didn't work. It was a disaster.
Don't be surprised if he runs that play again.
Maybe it'll be successful next time.
Exactly.
I hope it is.
And we'll be calling him the boy wonder, the next Chip Kelly, this innovative offensive mind, a Sean McVay clone, so on and so forth. You know what? I'm sitting there also watching the game going, why would you call that play at that situation where you just gave momentum back to the other team? But if he had converted it, I would have been tweeting. I would have been tweeting. Great play, great offensive mind, way to catch a veteran defense off his heels. Boy, what an awesome play! I can't wait to see what else Nick Sirianni has in his bag of tricks. It happened.
I would have said, and I wouldn't have said this word, but you get the idea. Gutsy.
There you go.
I would have said gutsy.
There you go.
And gutsy doesn't always equal smart. So even though sometimes you don't make the smart play or the smart play call in this situation, sometimes it still works out. He rolled the dice big time. He rolled the dice anyway, going for it on 4th and goal by just not taking the 3 points, right, and going up 6-0 in that particular situation early in the football game. You roll the dice enough by just going for it to then not only probably doubly roll the dice, but maybe triply roll the dice. That was probably a particular play call that probably didn't go. Again, you got Dallas Goedert. You got Zach Ertz. You got a quarterback that was extremely accurate in week 1. Right. Why are you taking the football out of his hands and giving it to Greg Ward? That to me is just overthinking it in my opinion. Overthinking that particular play call. So yeah, overall, I don't look at Jalen Hurts and say this is obviously on the quarterback. There were a couple of throws, and like I said, everyone's got a piece of this pie. Everyone's got a bite. When it comes to overall, I definitely go coaching before I go execution in this particular game. Absolutely, Devin, that was a great point. I absolutely would go execution rather than actual. Excuse me, I'd go game plan as opposed to actual execution in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Mark.
Yo,
are you a little salty right now?
I'm extremely salty. Do I seem a little salty?
You seem very salty. Yeah.
Because you know why? Here's what I haven't been able to separate. I know I'm supposed to be like objective and all that stuff. Nope, can't do it. Can't do it. I can't be like totally objective. My heart's still in it. Because my heart's still in it. I root for the Eagles to win football games. They did not win the football game today. And they lost it based on what I thought was a lot of, we can still do this. Look what we did last week against the Falcons. We can be confident and make a bold play call when the whole momentum of the game changed after the 4th and goal situation. That was, again, not only a gutsy play call, it wasn't the smart play call. It was not only gutsy to go for it on 4th and goal, it was just a bad play call after it. So you compounded an already complex situation.
You know what makes losses like this sting? Because we could have won. Like, I think we could have easily won had play calling been better, had offense been better in the red zone, which also kind of goes back to play calling, just a lot of different things. It wasn't like a blowout. It wasn't hopeless. Yes. But that also, I think, makes me not that salty because it's like, okay, you know, the 49ers are a good team. Most people didn't expect us to win. We could have won. Very frustrating to watch, very frustrating moments. But I think it's hopeful because now we know we can go back and work on these things moving forward. I'm an optimist. Okay?
You know what? You know what we just learned, Gunner? You know
what?
You know what we just learned?
What did we learn?
We learned we had teaching moments as
yeah. There you go. And
yeah, my
so
daughter
did the Eagles. They had teaching moment. This was a teaching moment today.
As they like to say at my daughter's daycare, we had some teaching moments today. Anyway, hey, guess what? We're gonna learn a little bit more.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. Well, actually, how much time do you have? So Lane Johnson's gonna be joining the show a little bit later. We also are gonna be talking to John McMullen, who'll be joining us from the stadium. All that and more is going to be available right here at the live post-game show. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, this show is exclusively presented by Ocean Casino Resort. Go for the win. Go Birds. Go for the win. Go Birds. Ocean Casino Resort. Like I said, coming up in just a minute, hopefully we're going to be joined by Lane Johnson when all the smoke clears at Lincoln Financial Field. We'll also be joined later in the show by John McMullen as well. Thanks for watching live post-game show 6abc.com. We got plenty more to come as we're on with you for the next hour and a half, featuring all the Eagles content that you need with Derrick Gunn, Devin Caney, and yours truly, Mark Farzetta on 6abc.com and the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. We'll be right back with more Eagles coverage.